Everybody, Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, and today we're going to figure out some stuff to do with HeroClick bases, specifically the ones that have this divot in them. And that divot is a pretty good spot to hold a miniature. So let me show you something. I have a robot upstairs. I should have left it down here. Let me show you something I did with one. Now, using one of these, some sprues, a glue cap, a cut-up plastic gun, some thumbtacks, and some cardstock, I was able to throw together this like little one-man speeder for my Futuristic. Oh, thank you, beautiful. For this Futuristic campaign. So I thought it would be nice if we could go through and do something like that with this. So the first thing we're going to need is decide if we're going to make a robot or a vehicle. So I have a D6 here. Evens will be robot, odds will be vehicle. We're going to do a robot. Where did I have that D6? Oh, there it was. And let's get a base. So instead of wasting a true size large base, I'm going to use this poker chip. And I'm going to simulate that it's size large by using something not as big as a huge base, but much larger than a regular base. So if you were to look at this, it's about 1.5 inches, just a little bit over 1.5 inches. The standard base size is 1 inch for role-playing games in general. So let's get this going. So what I want to do is I want to make like the futuristic kind of battle mat look that I've been going for. That's probably a lot more glue than I needed. Let's get that on there like that. Push it down. I haven't been down here in a couple days. I had an emergency yesterday. I didn't get to make a video. But I will say this, at the city council meeting last night, I was victorious to an extent, and we will see in the long run how victorious I was. But I was able to conclude that state law supersedes their shenanigans. And that was a victory. I wish I didn't have to fight this fight all the time about something or the other, but people just want to do what they want to do and not follow the law. And even though I don't agree with every law, the law's there for a reason. And I'm just going to make some cuts in there to show that these are different panels of different sizes. I'm going to push that down and chip into that with my nails a little bit. Just like that. Okay, so this is going to be the base of our robot, and it's going to be okay. I'm going to get a piece of one of these things. Paint lid. Dab of glue. Dabba dabba glue. Dabba dabba glue. Mother liquor. And for a robot, there's a ton of things you could do. You could use toothpicks or wooden dowels or sprues. I have some sprues out already because I was making that car the other day for fun. Yes, I do make stuff that's not on video that is for fun. That's just how it is. That's what I do. I enjoy crafting, and I'm never going to stop enjoying it. So making it for a video all the time isn't fun, but making it all the time is fun. So I'm going to get my legs. I'm going to make them roughly the same height. I'm going to cut in here with my little snipper dippers. Like that. And like that. There we go. And that's going to be my knee joints for my robot. It's not coming out nicely. There we go. Let's see if they're the same length. Pretty close. We'll make that work. We need some feet. We can use spruce for feet. Let's try it. Cut that roughly in half at that height and place our feet on the base for our robot. Well, I guess it really won't be a robot. It'll be more like a mech suit, I guess. And it'll serve a purpose. Okay, so we'll put our feet there, and they're a little bit different lengths. And that's okay. What we'll do is to show that this one's kind of broken off and destroyed. We'll heat that up for a second. And we'll get a piece of something metal, in theory. No. and try to chip some of that away or move it or mess it up to simulate that that's been damaged. Okay, it's not as good as I'd hoped, but it'll work. Now let's get this and kind of bend it into shape. Let's get it hot. Stick it together like that. And then now it's soft and pliable. Let's get a dab of stupid glue in there and hold that in place. Just like that. We can melt that again and make sure everything's sturdy. All right. Let me think. Got it. These are little cheapy bingo chips from I can't remember what. And on the outside here, I'm just going to put a dab of glue. And I'm going to shovel in these plates on here. Like that. Like it's a protective thing for that joint. And then when that cools, it should have enough surface space to hold that. There we go. Now we're grease cooking. Let's cook this one. Not warm enough. There we go. A little bit of glue in there. Tiny bit. We don't go overboard. Get that into place and do the outside of this leg. Same deal. Dab of glue and one of those little discs to be like an armor for that knee joint. It's burning me. Ow. Let that cool. And it did not cool enough. We'll get it go a little bit more. There we go. Just like that. Why is that not cooling? There we go. Still moving. Oh well, we'll figure it out. So let's hold these legs up next to each other and make sure that we have the adequate lengths that it's going to work. And I think that one's a little bit too long. So we'll just wrap that off a bit. We'll glue these on a little bit forward. That's this leg for this side. Let's try it again. And remember, the craftsmen in this era are not the master craftsmen of years before, so your welds and stuff are always going to be kind of junky and sloppy, because these are people that learned how to do it from computer programs and old videos on the internet, not from actually doing it. And my reference for that is because if you think about it, you can go on YouTube and learn how to do anything, like make a robot out of garbage, or a mech suit out of garbage. So now that we have a pretty good structure for the legs, let's get some shoddy gluemanship up here and up here and attach that base. Okay, just like that. And then we're going to let that hold in place just like so. And as that cools, we won't have to hold it anymore in theory. Now we're going to need to reinforce that and get that kind of in there. So let's get some more glue on there to make it solid and then make sure this is kind of level. It's kind of level. I wouldn't say it's perfectly level. All right, so let's let that sit for a moment. And while that sits, let's get some baking soda and super glue and make that the final home of all these pieces. Okay. And then we don't care if it's messy or sloppy. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means, because this is a robot that's been rusted and repaired and synthetically modified, and it's just had a lot of work done to it over the years. We want to make sure everything's sturdy. so then when we go back to paint it, it won't fall apart on us. I'm going to blow this off with the hot air gun off camera real quick, just to get some of this extra loose stuff loose. Get some spider webs. Get some destruction on there. On that foot. Where's my metal piece? There we go. Get that worn down and broken off looking. Okay. Now we have to figure out what the function of this robot is. So let's come up with some ideas. I did like a scrapping bot, so we could do like a dozer bot, maybe like some kind of lifter box, like a lifter bot, like a forklift. I'm not thinking of anything else off the top of my head. I just don't know. Okay, let's go with those two. Evens is dozer. And odds is forklift. Dozer. Okay. I'm not sure how we're going to do that. So let's figure that out. So we need a scoop for our dozer. Let me think what I got. Be right back. Wait, do I have an empty glue up here? I'll find one. I just threw garbage out too. It was getting a little ridiculous in here. Is this glue empty? This glue is empty. I'm going to get a knife. In theory. Okay. Something like that. We'll cut this down the middle, and we'll cut this off about right there. Okay. Now this still has glue in it. Mistakes were made. I'm going to floss this with like an old t-shirt or something because I don't want glue all over the place. This will make this project about impossible. And there's our dozer scooper unglued. I do want to come back with scissors and trim this into a little bit less of an aggressive shape. And then we need some teeth on the end of that bucket. So for teeth, where's that piece I just cut off? That would be a good place for my candidates for the teeth. So for the teeth, we're just going to cut 3, maybe 4 pieces. Come up to our scooper. Do the outside. And then we'll measure to see if it's even worth trying to put a 4th one. We might just need a 3rd one. Because you don't want to cram everything in. You're selling a concept. It's like theater. You're selling a concept. You're not making an exact replica, or would be here all the year long working on one project. And who's got time for that? Well, I shouldn't make remarks like that. There are people that do have time like that. I'm not one of them, unfortunately. Maybe one day. Maybe one day I'll stop loving what I do for a living and decide to become a YouTuber. All right. So, we have to decide how many arms we're going to use to make this guy function. So, pardon me. The first thing we want to do is get some kind of little sprue joints like this. And use this to make our connector pieces on the sides of the bucket. So we want these roughly the same length. And then we want sides on the buckets. To do sides on the buckets, I think the easiest plan would be to get some glue. Like that. Shove it down on there like that. Let it sit for a moment. We'll snip that here. And we'll do the same thing on top. We'll get some glue. We'll stick that down on there, just like that. Snip that off. And then we'll follow the shape of that bucket around. That. Snip up that little bit of excess because it's ugly. Ugly like mirror. Well, see how that kind of fell apart there? That's not ideal. Let's reinforce that and try again. We'll try one more time. Okay. Okay, so now we have a nice little bucket with a scoop, and we need to mount those two maneuverable grabber pieces on here. So we're just going to get a dab of glue there, and aim for the back of the bucket, kind of shove that around a little bit and get it in place so it holds. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side, towards the back of the bucket there. And that's going to be the swivel arms for the bucket. Okay. All right. Now we need this to come down off the construction. So let me see if I have some small beads available for such a project. Oh, well, you know, right under the desk. I just know where I keep my beads. So these would make good little arms for that. Getting some glue. I'm going to mount that here, kind of at an angle forward. Same thing on the other side. Okay, kind of at an angle forward, just the slightest bit. I'm going to put my other glue away so I don't spill it everywhere. I'm going to come up under here with a tiny bit of stupid hot glue, just to reinforce that. Then, let's find some crappy sprue. We'll clean it up a little bit. And we'll make the arms. I'm not sure how long those need to be. So we need to cut those in half once. And when I say in half, that's a very broad description of what has happened, because that was not one half. Okay, shove that up in there, twist it around, get it where you want it. Same deal, get it up in there, twist it around, get it where you want it. A little bit of glue coming out won't hurt you. It'll be more terrible welding, right? So now you have the basis of your arms there. This miniature makes no sense because he's a futuristic stupid robot. Let's take a break, get some glue, super glue going. Let's dirty this up. So dab of glue, dab of glue, dab of glue. I'm going to walk on over here to the garbage real quick with that. something like that. Okay, and those arms aren't perfect, but they're pretty sturdy at this point. And let's see where those two front parts were. Make sure those are about the same length to come back in and catch that bucket. So we want to put some beads on the ends of these to be like hands. Let's see if these ones will fit. They will. All right, so to get those on there, we're just going to get the tiniest dab of glue, kind of at an angle on there so it catches the corner. Shove our bead on until it's flush should be good enough. Then pull it out a little bit so there's a groove. Not too far. Same deal. Okay. Shove that bead on. You bastard. All right. Now this is starting to come apart a little bit. It's the same damn side. So I'm just going to get some glue and force it back into place and to behave for a moment so we can get these arms going. The smart solution here would be to super glue those and make sure they're sturdy and permanent. So I'm going to be very careful. Just use a sparse amount of glue on both sides. Just like that. Okay, something like that. And it should be a little sturdier at that point, you would hope. Okay, so come in, glue on the arm, bigger bead, to grab that, glue on the arm, same bead, get that in place, like that. Figure out kind of where the middle is, and get that arm to angle that way. Try not to burn yourself like a dumbass. Not that I know any of those people. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to sturdy this up with some glue. Your arm. Oh, glue gun down. Let's get that pulled in some so those can meet up like that. Get my felt fallen glue gun and let's get this arm. Little Debbie Dab of Glizzle. And it looks like it's going to fit. Anybody knows what earwigs are? Apparently we're having some earwig problems. And as much as I don't really see a problem with it, Lady Doom is super unhappy. So if anybody knows the secret to dealing with those, it would be nice to know. Okay, a lot of spider webs going on here. Let's get a little bit of glue on here to solidify this a little better. I'm worried about its sturdiness level. Okay. And there's a bee in here too. I don't like bees. Okay, we need some kind of steering mechanism or some kind of platform that you can control this guy from. So let's go back to a sprue. Something like this would be nice. We'll cut that flush. We'll cut that and an angle up. We'll get a dab of glue on the bottom of this bad boy. And I just dropped more stuff on the floor. Something like that. Then we need like a control panel. And unless you have a really small piece of sprue, that could do the job. Like this thin piece here would do. You can just cut a piece out of cardstock or whatever you can find. I'm just cutting this little piece of sprue because I had it. Putting my glue on there. Putting a control panel on there. And then we need a railing in the back so the miniature doesn't fall off or whatever. To make that railing, I'm going to use one of my little straws I got from that Lucky Duck store. I'm going to snip off a couple pieces to be my back railing. Okay, something like that. Get a little super glue involved. Just like that. Okay, let's make sure our miniature still fits in here. Okay, snip off some of this excess. And let's get rid of all of the spider webs. A lot of spider webs. So that's our basic construction for our scooper bot. We'll let everything cool down, and I'm pretty sure everything's pretty sturdy. Just to make sure it's sturdy, you can always come back with your friend, super the glue. Not use that much for damn it sure. And get another coat on everything. And this is probably excessive at this point. But, oh well. You know, if we can't get a little bit of glue and have some fun, what are we doing here, right? So anyways, I'm going to spray paint this black, and then I'm going to hit it with some primer red, and then we'll come back and paint it up. And then I'm going to go play Minecraft with my two youngest. So anyways, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon, leave a comment, and all the happy crappy that pleases the algorithmos, the great spirits who are in charge of the algorithm. We'll see you next time.